Welcome to Politico Pro. I'm Mark Halperin. Thank you for joining our inside access for rich people in Washington to have data that no one else has is on live now. Our special two Politico Pro correspondents, Sean Spicer, who covers Congress, Dan, who covers the White House. Gentlemen, what do you have to say that's worth $10,000?
Well, it's unfortunate that we were cut.
Yeah. All right, this is our last episode. Thank you for joining. Have a good day. We'll see you down the road. This is the morning meeting. Thank you for joining. Let's start over. 3, 2, 1. I'm Mark Halperin. Welcome to the morning meeting. This is the two-way platform, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, aka X, or here on the two-way platform. We're delighted to have you here. This program is based on the network news division's morning meetings, in which they discuss the day book ahead, what it all means, but with a little twist, we take your questions. So if you'd like to get in on the conversation, if you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand. Say it with me now. Extend the presumption of grace to everyone as you ask your question. Peace, love, and understanding is our mantra. And if you're writing stuff in the chat, please avoid smack. Today, jobs numbers came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Joining us now, our economic data correspondent, Paul Wilkie. Paul, what do the numbers show? I say, Paul, what do the numbers show? Job numbers
Hello,
came out.
Mark.
They were lower than expected. Isn't that right, Paul?
That is right. They added 143,000 jobs in January, but the jobless rate dropped.
All right. I'm sure Donald Trump will blame Joe Biden for anything in there that's negative. Thank you. That was our economics correspondent, Paul. Paul, just so you know, when an anchor throws to you, the first words out of your mouth are supposed to be, "That's exactly right, Mark."
That is exactly right, Mark.
All right. Thank you, Paul. All right. On the schedule today, Donald Trump, get ready for another news conference because he's receiving the Prime Minister of Japan, arrives at 11:30. They have a bilat starting at 11:35. There's a photo op there, so that's an opportunity to answer 10,000 questions. Then they have lunch and an expanded bilat, and then at 1:10 p.m., if they stay on time, there'll be a press conference. Sean, how many questions did they end up taking in the Netanyahu press conference?
74.
It was not a 2 and 2, to say the least.
No.
So I don't know what will happen with this one, but get ready for more.
Well, just remember,
Yeah.
I don't know about this new prime minister, whether he speaks English well or through a translator. The one thing that helped facilitate, I think, the one with Netanyahu is that because he is a very fluent English speaker, it allowed, like, if you've got to do the stop and pause, and also
it was an all English affair.
Yeah, and just the other thing is these things are negotiated with I mean, like, if you want to go beyond that, you have to negotiate that with their team. So they'll have bought in on either. We'll know quick.
Yeah. Donald Trump likes Japan. He likes the alliance. It's big for the Japanese. It'll be a massive story in Japan that the second foreign visit is after Bibi is the Japanese prime minister. And maybe on Monday, even though it'll be 3 days old, or maybe tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll have some clips from the Japanese coverage because it's going to be wall to wall. All right, after the press conference at 2 o'clock.
Oh, disney.
Nay. Onegaishimasu. 1:10, 2 o'clock, the president makes a faith office announcement and signs executive orders. So anything he wasn't able to say in the press conference is a third bite at the apple for more chatter. Then he goes to Mar-a-Lago and is supposed to arrive there at 5:50. Tonight, he's hosting a dinner for Republican senators and spouses, and there'll be a lot of chatter there about reconciliation. And then over the weekend, he's going to the Super Bowl. J.D. Vance, I assume he's going to be at Mar-a-Lago for the dinner, right? But I don't know that because once again, I say to the people in the vice president's office who are watching, please put me on your list so I can get his schedule every day because I still have no idea what he's doing.
I don't know that he's got a. I mean, I think
they're not putting out a press release to say the vice president's traveling to Florida?
No. They at some point they will, but I'm saying
Yeah.
I don't think that generally speaking that role has a lot of firmness in the schedule.
What do you mean?
He should just put out, "I serve at the pleasure of the president."
Right. And that's exactly my point. Thanks, Dan. I was like, you basically are sitting by your phone waiting to be like, JD, can you come over here?
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of
he's doing the TikTok deal apparently now.
Yes,
he's an investment banker.
I read that.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of texts about my Japanese. I will say to those of you who speak Japanese, skoshidake, mata heta desu. No more texts about my Japanese, please. Guys, I don't know if you saw the day book or not, but which cabinet member is going to Guantanamo Bay today?
Oh,
Christine.
Mark, we had this to say. I mean, Sean and
All
I
right.
were talking
Yeah, you
Christy
missed the
Nome.
pre-chat.
real
All
I
right.
will
estate and
recommend
everything.
if Nome staffers, Trisha McLaughlin, if you're there, there's a great Irish bar on base that I highly recommend.
And Mark,
All right.
I did not know there's a golf course at
Yeah.
Guantanamo. I did not know that.
I can give you
there's a great PX also.
I wouldn't put that. It's actually an NEX because it's a Navy base. But
Ooh.
well, hey,
Yeah.
and
It's good. You know what they have there? Slim Jims. There's like at the checkout, there's like the rack of Slim Jims in
I
multiple
will go to.
flavors.
I think
Multiple
that's a
flavors.
requirement for any military installation. Is
Yeah.
jerky.
Anyway, you mentioned Trisha McLaughlin. Trisha, who used to be a regular here on Two Way, took a job working for the Secretary of Homeland Security. And those photo ops, I don't know if Trisha's the mastermind of all of them, but those photo ops have been quite something, getting a lot of attention. And today it's Guantanamo Bay. Maybe Trisha's going. Maybe she'll do a live shot for us from Guantanamo Bay. Lori, see if Trisha can be on tonight if she's going to Guantanamo, please. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. House is in, Senate is out. Mike Johnson was supposed to meet with Bibi yesterday. Actually, incredible scene at the White House yesterday. Sean, be curious what you think about this. The House leaders came over to meet with the president. They met for a little bit. The president said, all right, you guys work it out. He left, and they just used the White House like it was a WeWork, and they just kept meeting.
And apparently he came back in a few times.
Yeah, he ducked in. How's it going? Checked in. He's a great host.
You guys are
remember.
still here?
That's
What?
one thing about Donald Trump. Incredible host. They met for so long that the speaker's meeting with Bibi had to be rescheduled for today, which is why they're meeting today, photo op and meeting. Hakeem Jeffries, 11:45, weekly press conference. All right. Lots to discuss, gentlemen. And again, if you want in on this incredible conversation in English or Japanese with simultaneous and consecutive translation, because we don't want anyone to miss a word, please raise your electronic hand. As always, we'd love our returning guests, but if you're new, and today's the day, we've had a lot of new people this week, please raise your hand. And as always, if you're in the chat, as I said before, peace, love, and understanding, better than smack. All right, Elon, there's so many stories we could talk about, and I do my daily newsletter, and it's like I could write a whole thing on HHS or a whole thing on Social Security or a whole thing, of course, on USAID. So let's just start, as we say, 30,000 feet. Sean, what are your thoughts about Elon so far? Like, what do you think people should be focused on regarding his role and results?
I mean, look, as a conservative who has been concerned about the growth in size of government, what he is doing is just music to my ears. I love the fact that he's going in, rooting out everything from contracts to bloated bureaucrats. There's a list of apparently of the additional agencies that he's going to. I'm just excited about what this means. I will tell you, and I wonder if it was intentional or not, but there's a new cover of Time magazine out.
Yep.
With Elon. I mean, it's a la Steve Bannon 8 years ago. It's almost like the same playbook. I wonder how many aides back in the day, the way to knife an aide was to take clips and just randomly happen to drop them off the president's desk and maybe highlight or point to a point where there's a quote about something that someone you don't like doing something that the president won't like to knife them. I wonder how many copies of the front cover of Elon behind that desk end up on the Oval or the small dining room today for people who don't like it. The one thing I will tell you, though, is that generally speaking, you may not like, or some people may not like Elon's tactics, but for the conservatives, this is great. I mean, like what he is doing has been decades in the making. There's no more talk and excuses. He's getting it done. And so I don't know that he really has internally, like there may be someone at an agency level, like, whether it's Marco Rubio or Lee Zeldin at EPA or someone like those people who are like, I don't need you in my wheelhouse, but I don't know that there's any internal dissent. People have been wanting this for a long time on the right to go in to look at government. So there's a big difference between knifing somebody you don't like or that's screwing you over. And, I think he's in a very different place than we were 8 years ago and what happened to Steve. So I actually think for the most part, everyone that I talk to in MAGA world kind of is ecstatic about what he's doing.
Dan, what's your middle name?
Calhoun, Scottish.
That's what I would have guessed.
Yep.
Calhoun.
Daniel,
You look like
Daniel,
a Calhoun.
Daniel Calhoun Turrentine. What say you about the Musk of it all?
Just so you know, whenever my parents said that, I was in trouble. When the
I
full
know, that's
name
why I
came,
used, that's why I
when the
used
full
it.
name came out, you
Yeah.
sat to attention. I actually largely agree with Sean in that for those who voted for Donald Trump, who want the status quo, kind of blown up and changed, he is bulldozing through and doing where in the past people have only talked about it. So I think if this is what you want, to Sean's point, I think you are ecstatic. I will also give him and the Trump administration credit. Your opposition was kind of dumbfounded and is completely on their heels. There was no preparation for this. They don't, as of now, have a really good response to this. And so if you want to judge whether someone is successful, it's almost like a knockout so far. I think where this will get interesting is, one, as we've talked about all week, it's becoming me, this cover is a good example of it is becoming about like Elon accomplished this. Only Elon could do this. And at what point do others, just from a political standpoint, really the jury of one, have an issue with that? The second is he's gone for the easy targets. And now that he's going to start touching Social Security, Department of Education, health, apparently he's going to try to blow up NOAA. I mean, they do the weather. I did not know God, had a thing with screwing the deep state or, getting Republicans. I think the question is the product he produces a better product to serve real people and their lives? Or do things start falling through the cracks and there are problems? And what he has done is gutted it to the point of inefficiency, not efficiency.
So, Dan, I think, the thing that you're absolutely right on in terms of like as long as he doesn't cross the line, and right now I think Trump sees him as, hey, you're getting all I said this before, you're taking all the arrows and you're getting it done. But I cannot overemphasize the one thing about Donald Trump, both the first term and this time, is on faith-based stuff, on tax stuff, on bloated bureaucracy. Republican leaders have talked the talk for decades and done nothing, and then give you an excuse about the process and this and that. Donald Trump gets it done, and there's a lot of leeway that comes with that. That people, we talk about HHS and why people give RFK a pass, because Donald Trump has a record of getting it done, whether it's the people he's appointed to the bench or, like I said, all the stuff that he's done for the pro-life community, cutting taxes, cutting government. Like, he has bought himself a ton of political space with the right because he's put so many points on the board.
I'll be very curious. I would think pretty soon, maybe the next few weeks, I imagine the DSCC, the DCCC, the NRSC, John McLaughlin for Trump, is polling and focus grouping what is the initial reaction to this first month. And I, because I see Democrats in the chat and obviously online, I'm giving political judgment, not like, we ought to be fighting everything per se. I imagine this is all pretty popular. That so far he has not, and Trump has not hit a live wire of, oh my God, I'm really upset that they did this, or it's really harmed negatively my life. If you live in the DMV, you have a different view of this. But I think so far the country is probably applauding and saying, to Sean's point, government's too big, doesn't work great. They're, a bunch of jerks and we need to reform it.
All right, I go like this. Of course, we should do a focus group on Musk. So we'll schedule that soon and bring it to you. Of course, we should be doing that. Should have thought of that earlier.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick? I asked this in my panel on my show last night. Between you guys, January 1st, 2026, aside from the fact that it's a federal holiday, does Elon Musk still have an office and work out of the White House? Meaning, I'm just saying, like,
yes.
A year from now, you think he's there?
Yes.
Dan, do you think he's there a year from now?
No. And I'll tell you why. I think he's moving so fast that I think, like, he gets through the summer, Trump and Musk can say, 5% of the workforce is gone. We've cut this amount of money. and Musk leaves because the game is going to be in Congress, and I mean, to keep going for 2 or 3 years, at what point, like at the rate he's going, he's going to be through all the departments by Easter.
So this guy wants acceptance. He's a weird combination, right? He wants acceptance, and the having the proximity to this power and the president is for him, just a huge validation. At the same time, not since Dick Cheney have I seen anyone so impervious to criticism, right? He's getting more negative. He's getting a lot of positive coverage, but he's getting so much negative coverage. He doesn't seem to give an F, and he's very combative, obviously on X, but I don't know him, haven't met him. Very difficult for me to kind of understand him. He's a weird combination of confidence and insecurity, of not giving an F about things, but also clearly wanting approval and acceptance. And I think that what he's doing, Sean said, it's unprecedented. It's actually more unprecedented than my mind can understand. I understand it kind of in the abstract, but what's happening now has nothing close to this has happened in our lifetimes in Washington.
Right.
I don't know if it's happened in any state capital, but this is, even if nothing else happens, what he's done for 3 weeks on many levels, many dimensions, it's unprecedented, not by a little, but by a lot in American history.
You think about like reinventing government with Al Gore, Simpson Bowles, the Grace Commission, going way back, right? These were all efforts to rein in spending, and it was like, we'll issue a report, and then Congress will ignore it, and then nothing will happen. He's just showing it. Boom, boom, boom. I can get it done. Real quick, Mark, on the last point you made, it's something that I came to realize early on. There is something about a lot of these folks that are in the Trump orbit who are successful billionaires, that there's a level of acceptance that's never happened. And it's actually kind of, to some degree, the ethos of Mar-a-Lago, like as a club, which is, for the long time, people in Palm Beach who were really successful, if you listen to a lot of the folklore, were not allowed to go to certain clubs and whatever, and have been told no throughout their life. That's a dumb idea. This won't work. And then invented or done great things. And there's a level of acceptance, which is, you all said I couldn't do something. I went out and I did it. I created this. I built this.
Correct.
I did that. And there's a yearning for acceptance that the establishment won't give you, to invite you to the cool kids parties, so to speak.
100%. And I'll say something else. There's a parade. Sorry. There's a parade of CEOs. There was at Mar-a-Lago during the transition. There is at the White House now. Some of them are reported. Many of them are not. So if you're Elon Musk, you are now America's #1 CEO, because they're coming in for a 45-minute meeting, and you're there with all access, doing whatever you want, and you're getting stuff done. So he's got approval of MAGA. He's got approval of the President of the United States and the Vice President, who retweets him all the time favorably, and vice versa. And all these other CEOs from establishment Fortune 500 companies are walking into the White House, and you're like, yeah, nice to see you, Mr. Whoever. I'm the #1 CEO in the world now. Dan.
Yeah, 2 things on that front. One, this perception of his power, real and perceived, does not hurt his businesses. I don't think anyone's going to F with any of his businesses, knowing that he sits, 20 feet from the Oval Office. The second thing that I would ask you to is, a year from now, Sean, maybe Musk is still there, but is he still working on Doge, or does he move to another topic? Like, if he is successful, does he just kind of be like, okay, boss, what's next? Because I'm having fun. Or is he still doing Doge?
I think Doge can take on many things. So, for example, he's talked about like the FAA. I think you can go through the cost cutting stuff, and then you can talk about using artificial intelligence and other technological measures to advance and create efficiencies in government that don't exist. So that can morph itself, as we say in the military, mission creep. It can go into, manifest itself into a lot of other, and that's why I've gone back and forth in the question I asked you guys, but I kind of agree with Mark, which is that he sees this as like the next SpaceX or Tesla, where he's going to come in and say, like, I'm going to transform this. And the first part is the workforce. The next part is the operating aspect of it.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Democrats sleep into power in 4 years. He better have dual citizenship somewhere.
Yeah, or just go live on Mars. All right, we could talk more about this, but let's do it real quick, because not everybody's as interested. B, because it's in flux, and C, because we talked about it yesterday. Dan, where are we in the Johnson-Thune battle over supremacy on who's going to control the reconciliation process?
I mean, it sounds like the House is pleading for more time. And the question is just to what extent is Trump willing to give them more time? I think everyone's waiting to see what comes out of tonight with the dinner. The National Republican Senatorial Committee is down in Palm Beach for their annual fundraising weekend. And so they are gathering at Mar-a-Lago tonight with the president. I mean, look, by all reports, the House Republicans have agreed to about $300 billion in cuts, but the holdouts want $2.5 trillion. That is a big delta. And Lindsey Graham and Republicans are ready to go. And I think if you are Trump and you are the producer of your, the political producer, what is your victory? What is your momentum builder this spring? And going with two bills where you put some points on the board, can say, I'm securing the border, and then you have that tax bill in the fall, boy, that sounds like a good sequencing in the production. And I just don't know how the House guys keep saying, trust us, trust us, trust us, when there's no advancement.
So Sean M. Spicer, before you go, little known fact, the M stands for mimic. Please put up 202. Sean, please read in your best Trump voice this new post on Truth Social from Donald J. Trump.
I like the two great quarterbacks are in this game. Also, unbelievable running back, the absolute best tight end in football ever. Incredible coaching. If they would only get rid of the really weird looking new kickoff deal, which actually makes football way more dangerous, they would be doing everybody, especially the fans, a big favor. Anyway, it will be a great game. I will be doing the interview. Hold on. There's a little thing right there before the 3 o'clock. There hasn't. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
All right. Sean, what up with reconciliation?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Question for you guys. Do Trump and Taylor Swift meet at the Super Bowl?
Bigger question. Do the refs tilt the scale for the Chiefs and then they're on the field together?
Oh,
no, they're not.
They will not meet. No way.
No, they will not.
Greatest tight end ever, but worst girlfriend ever. Okay.
Better question. Does he tweet about her at the game because she
says, do they tweet at each other?
No, because here's the thing. I can see him getting a question in that Fox interview, or she gets asked some kind of question and about Trump being there, and then they start a Twitter / Truth social media back and forth.
I would not be surprised if she goes and shakes his hand.
No, I will tell you this. After going to the Army-Navy game,
I think she would.
That is so. Back in the day, you could be like, hey, can I come see the president? Somebody would walk you. After the assassination, the security has changed so much. It would.
Oh, it'll be arranged. It'll be.
No way.
Taylor Swift. Neither of them want that. Neither of them.
Hand.
Never ever.
He doesn't want it.
It will never. They're not getting back together.
They're never, ever going to shake hands. Ever.
They're not getting. Yeah, I don't. That's probably the only Taylor Swift song I can sing. But yeah. Never.
I'm gonna go into chat, Sean. While you're talking about reconciliation, I'm gonna go into Chat GPT and I'm gonna get some remade lyrics to that song about Donald Trump and Taylor Swift. I'll be on that. You talk about reconciliation.
All right. So I think the timetable is important. The House guys met at the White House, as you mentioned, for 5 hours yesterday. I think they made some good progress, but normally you would say, well, the Senate guys are going down to Mar-a-Lago today. However, it's a big dinner with spouses. That's not a meeting, right? So you're not going to sit there and negotiate with 110 people in the room going back and forth. So the one upside is Johnson is going to the Super Bowl with him. We do know that. And he can put a bug in his ear about this. I just don't think time is on the House's side. And they don't have coming up with these numbers. You have to get them scored through CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. There's a lot that goes into this, and they need to get a budget reconciliation out of committee and on the floor ASAP to give them a top. It's called a 302A. And a 302B. They need their top line numbers to negotiate reconciliation from. They don't have it. So I think that, as I've maintained, time is not on their side. I think the Senate wins. They go first with a reconciliation bill that deals with the border, energy. What's the third one that I'm missing? Border, energy,
Defense.
And defense.
yeah, defense. Yeah, I felt like Rick Perry at a debate. Education department. So, and then they punt the tax bill, which I think you have to anyway. I look, who knows? It's Trump, but I do think that they're going to go down and say, Mr. President, they're not going to negotiate tonight, but they will say, we're ready to go on Monday. We can put it out right now. Let's say that. Their goal is to urge him to push out. I've agreed to 2 bills.
All right. I need someone who's in our crowd, because I know this is not Sean or Dan. I need someone who's a good singer who knows the song "We're Never Getting Back," the Taylor Swift song "Never Getting Back Together." If that's you, please raise your electronic hand and wave to us. Okay? If you can sing really well, a cappella. All right?
I'm looking at these verses here. This is amazing.
All right. Next topic is our signature feature. Ever since the morning's been around, is our 25th anniversary. On Fridays, as you know, we've always done biggest winners and losers of the week. Very original. Plus, what to look forward to over the weekend. Can't say the Super Bowl. Dan, biggest winner of the week.
All right. So I've got 3 winners. 1, Trump Productions.
No, one.
No, I get 3. I get 3. Trump Productions, Canada, Mexico, Panama.
Trump Productions?
Yeah, it's all a production. It's all
okay, got
like
it.
a big,
okay, the
PR
Trump movie.
machine.
The Trump
and then
movie.
I'll say Musk and the MAGA movement because of Kennedy, Gabbard, and they keep pulverizing anyone in their way.
Dan, I'm sorry, was that 2 or 3?
That was, and then the Senate GOP because they're rolling the House.
Okay, Dan, you have to put $5 in the swear jar for breaking the rules. Sean, adhere to the rules. Who's the single big winner of the week?
Since Dan took all the good ones,
my
answer is Joe Biden.
Hey, by the way,
Joe
Mark,
Joe Biden? Why Joe Biden?
To us, it is plural. Biggest winners.
That's because you have one, and Sean has one, and I have one.
Okay. Do you want to know
why Joe Biden?
Well, as I said, first, just to be clear, Dan took all the good ones.
Yeah.
The reason Joe Biden is that he got CAA to sign him to a talent deal. And the idea that they think that they're going to get a guy who didn't do much as president for 4 years is going to do something for them is a huge coup for him. The idea that a talent agent is paying Joe Biden to do deals, I think, is a huge win.
Well, they're not paying him. They're counting on getting
But to get the CAA brand behind you is a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Big winner of the week, Dan Turrentine, who upstaged his 2 morning meeting colleagues at the live event we did in Washington, D.C. on Sunday night by just being Dan and everybody flocking to Dan. And Sean and I stood in the corner and talked to each other about whatever.
I have smile practice later today, by the way. I've got a smile coach. I hired a smile coach.
Dan, loser of the week.
Congressional Democrats.
Enough said. That requires no explanation, I think. Not a great week for them. Sean.
Same vein, the DNC.
DNC.
Just that circus of a meeting is not just visually ridiculous, but it was telling how they went about it. And it was just such devoid of any sense of reality of what happened in November and what's happening now. So
yeah, I mean, look, if you just step back, there isn't a single Democratic win or draw, or even okay, that was a close call of who I'm going to score. Like, the party is getting steamrolled right now. And look, I mean, things will be fine in the long run.
You got Chuck Schumer. You have Chuck Schumer.
I'll be more specific. The loser of the week is the Democrats around USAID, where they were flummoxed. They defended it. They didn't defend it. But you guys, I think the real answer, we all gave answers. We all know. I'll count to 3. It's a 2-word answer. Who's the loser of the week? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Politico Pro. Come on. They're the loser of the week. I mean, they're losing millions of dollars.
By the way,
Great
Or
answer.
all
Things
the
that
government
since you
subscriptions.
opened that can of worms, the idea that every platform that they have, or like newsletter, whatever, opened with this long letter explaining what was going on last time. The key line, by the way, which again, since I love to dunk on this, is that the quote, according to them, the reason that the government subscribes to them is that it makes them more efficient. That was their line.
Yeah.
Not to quote the senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, not my words, yours.
All right. You guys did not do, with all due respect, a very good job when I said to 1, 2, 3. But this time I'm sure it's going to work. Ready? On the count of 3. What happens in politics when you're explaining? 1, 2, 3. You're losing.
Losing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Lastly,
Pro.
yeah, Politico Pro. Dan, what are you looking for this weekend?
The next Doge PR production.
Sean.
What are we talking about Monday morning?
Yeah. Sean.
A social media tweet from Donald Trump announcing the reconciliation vehicle, 2 bills or 1.
Ooh.
Giddy up, as Courtney
right.
just put in the chat. I am looking for the Brett Baer interview because I think Brett is going to, even though Donald Trump has answered 50,000 press questions this week, I think Brett is going to use his honing techniques and capability to actually make some more organized, linear news that's come out of some of these things. So there. All right.
I will be interested in the tone and tenor of that one.
Yes, I will too.
For a lot of reasons that.
Agreed. All right. No one can sing. There's not a single member of our community who knows the song and can sing. Not one person. I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. This is disappointing. I'm not even going to put up the lyrics then. You know what? I'll put the lyrics in the Substack. So if you don't,
Why don't we do
Substack,
a trio? A trio.
Yeah, you gotta publish these.
Sean, I know you can. I know you'll just ruin the show if I let you.
I sing like I dance. Not good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Lori, can I announce what you just texted me on the air? Or is that for planning only?
Well, now you have to, Mark. That you can't tease like that.
All right. I'll stand by, Lori. All right. Again, come on in. Tell us where you are and what's on your mind. For those who don't know where you are and what's on your mind, Jackie, come on in. Jackie Williams, or as you say above 110th Street, we pronounce that Jackie.
Jackie. That works.
Yeah. Where are you? What's on your mind?
Good morning, guys. Long time listener. So I have a couple.
So Jackie, where are you? Jackie, where are you?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Welcome
just outside the city. Hey, I am the exact demographic that everybody wants. I'm a college-educated suburban woman with a family. I mean, right? I'm
in a swing state.
In a swing state, to boot. Yeah.
Jackie, you're more powerful than Elon Musk.
Hey, you can't believe the calls I get.
Who'd you vote for president?
This time around, I did vote for Trump. I tried really hard.
How about in 16? Who'd you vote for?
16, I couldn't vote for Clinton.
Yeah, so you voted for Trump?
I did vote for Trump in 16.
How about in 20? 20?
I sat the presidential out in 20.
You're the classic Trump, nothing Trump voter.
But you know what? I actually love him now. Like, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for him. Yeah. And after the last 4 years, and after, I'm like,
Jackie,
I like everything about him.
Did you ever vote for Bill Clinton or Barack Obama?
Barack Obama. Did not vote for Bill Clinton. No.
You voted for Obama twice?
Your Senate race?
Once for Obama.
Yeah.
Did you vote for in the Senate race? Or Casey?
I went straight Republican this time. I don't usually do that. Yeah. And everybody says how much they love Josh Shapiro. I live in this state. He talks a lot. I've seen nothing. I've seen nothing for my in-laws who's in their 90s. I've seen nothing for people around me who are struggling. Like, I've seen nothing he talks a lot. Now he's talking about marijuana to fix all the problems of Pennsylvania. I just don't see that.
Are you a native of Pennsylvania?
I am a native, but I lived in the Southwest for several years after school.
Yeah. Do you drink beer?
I prefer wine.
Okay. All
And
right,
I
Jack, that's a
prefer
lot. Yeah,
French or Italian wine. So,
yeah,
that's going to hurt if tariff goes on.
yeah. Good point. What? Just one more question, and then you tell us why you came on.
Yes.
You say you love Donald Trump now. What would you list as the reasons for that?
His perseverance. I just didn't realize the guy never gives up. I admire that. I admire that. And I think his policies, I think if you need to get a subscription to somewhere to tell you what's going on in your own business, there's something wrong with your business. I've worked for software startups for over 30 years. And yeah, there's something wrong with the business if you need to if you need to read from somebody outside of your business what's going on inside of your business. Is that not a problem? Does not anybody find that to be a problem?
Well, it's multi-layered. I mean, part of it is if you're an executive agency, I mentioned this the other day, you have congressional oversight. And you have members or staff that deal with congressional relations, and they're constantly checking in about what is happening. And you get kind of the top line from the Hill. This is what we're thinking of doing. Political Pro is so granular. They will say these people came into some people's office. A CEO was seen coming out of an office. A letter has gone in signed by these companies or these advocacy groups on this specific issue. And so if your job is to understand kind of not where the puck is, but where the puck is going on Capitol Hill, what problems may be emerging, where are your opponents rallying? Political Pro gives that daily, one of the reasons that people subscribe is there is currency in getting the information at 5:30 in the morning versus hearing about it at 10 a.m. Because I have been involved where a CEO says at 7 a.m., I heard something is happening. And if you say, I don't know, sir or ma'am, I'll get back to you, that's not good. So everyone wants to know immediately any sort of rumor or information because it could have a material impact on your employer. And the executive branch focuses in that same world and vice versa. So it is just the nexus of what everybody is doing. And in an ideal world, it would all be internal, but you rely on external support to do your job the way a company relies on consultants and bankers and lawyers and others to augment internal staff.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Actually, that's not even why I really wanted to talk about, nobody's mentioned this. We've spent 4 years watching everybody cover up problems with one of our leaders, right? What is going on with Mitch McConnell?
He's having some health issues, but I haven't heard anybody question his acuity.
He tends to freeze. He tends to I just don't understand. Yeah. We can't sit back. I'm going to call myself a Republican at this point. Actually, I'm more libertarian than anything. Love Rand Paul. I just don't know how we can sit back and say, hey.
It should get more scrutiny, but he's not president. He's not the leader anymore. But it should get more scrutiny. But I think, to me, my attitude is it's really up to the people of Kentucky. Like, if they want him to represent them under his current condition, that's their choice. They chose him. They chose him. But whereas the president is, the president of everybody. So, Sean or Dan, you guys have any more questions before we let her go back to her ideal suburban lifestyle?
I will tell you the funny story to Dan's point. There's a great anecdote in Lee Atwater's biography, the former political operative / chairman of the Republican National. He used to send somebody out, whatever time it was. He knew where the first Washington Post was delivered, and he would have someone pick it up, drive it to his house, and he'd start reading the stories and calling people and saying, Dad, did you read the story in the Post about? And they would go, well, of course not. No, I haven't. He'd be like, all right, well, call me back when you did. And it was his way of basically letting you know that I know what you don't before you do. And political intelligence is a currency that's traded in this town. It's why a lot of, so it was that's apropos of nothing, just that there is a value in knowing things. Whether or not the government should be spending money is a whole nother story.
Jackie, I would also just tell you when it comes to McConnell, remember, and I think this was part of Joe Biden's problem, they served with people like Robert Byrd, who died in office, Strom Thurmond, who died in office, people who just stayed there till the end. Their staffs kind of keep the machine moving. I think one of the problems for Biden was he is of that climate. He got in the White House. He's like, hey, we're passing legislation. Like, I got elected. It's working with the machinery behind me. And to Mark's point, it's different being president than a senator. But unfortunately, in my opinion, in that club, people stay to the end.
I just feel like you can't criticize, President Biden and then sit there and not criticize your own party. We had an MIA, right? Was it a Texas congresswoman who was out for
Kay
6 months?
Granger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, the hypocrisy in politics drives me crazy. I mean, I'm sure it drives everyone crazy, but I just want to put out one more point. The velocity by which President Trump is moving at this point makes me look at the Senate and the House and say, what the hell are you people doing? Like, they've passed one thing, right? It's a good one. Lake and Riley, it's a very good one. But the rate that they move,
they're not moving at the speed of Trump.
They're not even in the same stadium with Trump at this point.
Yeah.
Jackie, last question, Jackie.
Yes.
Want to give everybody a sense of how you plan benevolently or otherwise to use your extraordinary power in the coming years. Are you prepared today to endorse Vice President Vance for president in 2028?
Absolutely. I didn't know anything about this man until he ran. To me, unless he does something, obviously,
So you're going to endorse him today, but you reserve the right to withdraw the endorsement.
Well, if something, 4 years is a long time, but yes,
Jackie,
or maybe we will give you a reason to vote for us.
Yeah.
Well, please do. But
you wouldn't support Governor Shapiro. I think we can rule that out.
Unless something changes here in Pennsylvania, absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope.
Jackie, I say this all the time, but typically it's just a meaningless throwaway line. But please come back often. All right, thank you. Amazing. All right. Our next guest has an adorable child, and he claims he's been trying to get on 100 times. David, welcome in. What do you mean you've been trying to get on? What happens when you try?
I raise my hand and I just wait and watch the whole show, and then you say goodbye, everybody.
And I've never called on you?
Sounds like fourth grade to me.
David, that's crazy. I can't explain that. Well, we're glad you're here. Where are you calling us from today?
I am from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, how do you feel about toasted ravioli?
Love them.
How do you feel about mozzarella on pizza as opposed to Provel?
I'm not a big Provel guy. I know, shocking from St. Louis.
Yeah.
But
are you able to find pizza with mozzarella on it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, your typical pizza place in St. Louis does not serve mozzarella pizza. It serves this Provel, which is, I'll say, with due respect to my friends in St. Louis, is not as good. How about that?
I'm not a big fan of Provel, and most people who aren't from St. Louis come and they're not a fan of Provel either.
Yeah. Dan, did you know that in St. Louis they use different cheese on pizza?
I did not. Nope.
Yeah,
but I have been there.
Yep. And almost every restaurant serves toasted ravioli, which is the ultimate comfort food. All right. None of this is the reason that David came on. At least that's my suspicion. David, how old's that cute baby we saw?
I actually have three. I have
Give us ages and names.
Hey, so this is my oldest. That's Evelyn. Say hi.
Hi, Evelyn. I like your outfit.
She's a big Barbie girl. She is 4. And then I have 2 twins that are almost 3 that are rummaging through the toys, even though it's almost time to go.
Are they fraternal?
Yeah, that's my son, Brady.
Oh, my God. Brady. Amazing.
And then I don't know where my other one is.
All right. What's his or her name?
Oh, you're batting
Ruby.
600. You're good.
Ruby. Sean, what are the 3 kids' names?
Ruby, Brady, and Evelyn.
Ready
All
and
right.
heavy.
All right. David, thank you for the tour. Your kids are, at least 2/3 of your kids are certifiably adorable. Tell us what's on your mind, sir.
Yeah, so obviously there's been a lot of stuff happening with USAID, and it's kind of like seems like we were going through a culture shift here, a huge paradigm. I was watching Joe Rogan the other day, and he had a guest on, and he kind of made a point. It's like the Earth just got hit with an asteroid, and you have people pretending like it didn't happen. And whether that's the case or not, and my question's kind of for Dan, and I get your perspective on it. I actually think all of this, in a weird way, if it's done right, can be a blessing for the Democrats. Why? I think the Democrats have always worked at lockstep. They stick together like no others, and I think that has created them a hard time stepping out of what they've done into what the party's going to be in the future. And I think it has a weird way of going younger because a lot of the old guard in the Democratic Party is kind of getting caught up in some of this mess. And you have younger Democrats that instead of kind of sticking with them, they can kind of call out the fraud with the Republicans and say, you know what, this isn't what the Democrat Party stands for. We have gotten away from our ways. And instead of doing the Kamala sticking by Joe thing, they can actually step aside from the older guard of the Democrats and kind of refresh in the Democrat Party if they do it right.
Yeah, David, brilliantly well said. Dan.
Yeah, I think brilliant and well said. I think what's interesting about it is there was the younger members, Jared Moskowitz from Florida, Ro Khanna, Richie Torres, initially said, hey, we're open to working with Doge. Like they joined the Doge caucus. They were kind of like, okay, we'll bring some of our ideas to the table. And when the Musk steamroller then just took off and wasn't listening or taking questions or feedback from anyone, they were just kind of focused on going forward. A lot of Democrats said, whoa, wait, time out. I mean, this looks kind of almost out of control and less like a scalpel and more like a machine gun. And I think whether they personally felt like this is too far, too fast for me to be a part of, or they just looked at the politics of it and said, I cannot, join in on this. I do agree with you. I wrote a little Substack on this yesterday that if I were the Democratic Party, I would not defend the status quo. I would try to join in on this and put one, our own stuff, our own ideas forward, and two, where you want to defend, because I do think some of this stuff is inappropriate to cut, you have to put real people forward to say, this is the impact, right? The child who gets the Head Start, the person who receives the health benefit, the clean water, like what Democrats are doing now is objecting kind of on process, on just in the big picture, like you can't touch USAID, whereas Musk is saying, here's 100,000 that was misspent or 2 million that was misspent with tangible examples that people are saying, ugh, like that doesn't seem right. So I think you make a lot of good points.
Sean.
I agree with all the, I think you're pointing out something that's really smart, that the Democrats have a huge opportunity here. Someone gets to clean the deck for them and they can almost start anew instead of defending the status quo that exists, because by definition right now they have to defend political, public unions and these institutions. And it's so right now somebody else gets to go clean it. In theory, if you're a Democrat, you guys go do that. And then we get to build it back in our way again, in a modern way, in theory. I just don't think, and there's a reason I said the DNC is the loser, and Dan mentioned the congressional Democrats, and Mark mentioned, Democrats. It's that they're not seizing this moment in a smart way. And so you're absolutely right. This is so interesting that when given the opportunity to use this as a rebuilding effort, almost like a sports team, instead they're doubling down on stupid.
David, I'm being told that there'll be a joint investigation by two-way management and Elon Musk into how you weren't called on previously. I've pledged to cooperate fully with the investigation, and I would urge you and others to cooperate as well. Do the kids want to say goodbye?
They are downstairs now in the playroom.
All right,
I'm going to have to
give
cuddle them up.
them our best and tell them we hope that they have a great weekend.
Yep, will do, and I appreciate getting called on. And one last tidbit before you go. I know a lot of people pop in here and say I reluctantly voted for Trump. I did this. I did this. I'm one of those people that I'm a proud three-time Trump voter, and I think it's because what we're seeing now happening with USAID. I think the MAGA at its core suspected a lot of this has been happening and now it's being validated. And I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding of what MAGA's core principles were and are. And I think the media has done a disservice for the people that really love this country. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
David. Come back regularly, please. So let's put up 204. One of the things we try to do here is take you behind the scenes and explain things. Here's the new White House statement on the jobs report, which, as we said, was our jobs report data correspondent Paul Wilkie told us were considered disappointing by analysts. So Sean, Caroline Levitt, this is one of her first statements in her name on this. Everybody can read it for themselves. Just to point out some language in here. What's the goal of this release? Why are they framing it the way they're framing it?
Biden.
Blame it on Biden. Blame it on Biden.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, just to be clear, and not. I mean, obviously, you know where I stand, but I mean, the jobs report is what it was a month ago, right? So it's you know, he's correct in pointing out that this was under Biden's watch.
Well, 2/3 of it was. I mean, today's report is through the end of January, so technically 10 days. But I mean, look, I will just say, after the inauguration, or the
9.5, Dan, just to be clear.
Okay, after November 5th, any sort of stock market move up or any good economic news, the Trump team said this was a Trump bump. Confidence is high. People are moving. So I get the politics of this. It's the last time that you can really say that was that guy's and like we will be better. But I will come back to a lot of this action so far. He's not touching the economy. And you know, there's a story today, the price of coffee is almost doubled. And there's reasons for it, but the world continues.
All right, I hit the wrong button. I screwed things up. Thank you, David Fletcher. Come on in. Tell folks who don't know where you are. What's on your mind, please? After you unmute.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining. Where are you calling us from today?
Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Is that Duke blue on the bottom, Carolina on the top there?
Jeez, man, that really hurts.
Now we need to know.
No, this is the real blue.
Okay.
I'm slumming it with this.
Yeah.
I just had a question on the Politico thing. I also saw some information about $50 million in subscriptions to the New York Times. And it just keeps going up. And I'm just wondering how much of a grift that is and how many subscriptions actually got sent. Yeah. It's kind of like the condom thing in Gaza. Do you really think that 50 million condoms went to Gaza, or did a lot of that money end up in somebody's pocket?
All right, you're asking interesting questions and super complicated to answer.
Yeah.
Government, no, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't ask it, just it's complicated. Government is not great at procurement, right? There's a lot of inefficiencies. I hope that one of the things Musk does, and every American should hope this, I hope he reforms the procurement system, right? I hope that we're not buying things. The woman who came to our event the other day told the story. I won't have the facts exactly right, but what was it? Some department had like HHS had like all these Adobe Acrobat licenses, and they could have had one for the whole department. So procurement reform, great. I can't speak to the supply chain of custody of the condoms. I apologize for that, but I think you're right to be suspicious of it. I will continue to say that if you believe that government officials don't need to read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, despite liberal bias, if you think they don't need to read them, I'd say you're wrong. Now you could say the taxpayers shouldn't pay for it. They should pay for it out of their own pocket. And I'm fine with that, because the government shouldn't pay for everything. But I'm telling you, I will not defend Politico Pro because I don't know enough about the product, and the price point's really high. But if you're the CIA station chief in Athens, not Athens, Georgia, Athens, Greece, you need to read the New York Times. You just do, because they're telling stuff, and the journalists too, they're telling stuff that the government doesn't know. And you need to know it. So again, if you want to have a philosophical discussion and say, doesn't matter that they need to read it, or you want to disagree with me and say they don't need to read it because it's all liberal claptrap, fine. But if you think they need to read it, then the question is, who's going to pay for it? And they don't make very much money. So I think the government, it's not unreasonable that they should be reading stuff that helps them do their jobs. Sean.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything helpful to Politico right now.
Don't say about political. Did you read the New York Times when you were press secretary?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, I got every.
And
paper.
who paid for it when you read the New York Times?
I don't know. It just got delivered to my office.
Yeah, okay. You didn't pay for it, dude.
Oh, the hard copy.
I did. I bought you the New York Times.
Guy. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So
You're
every
welcome.
paper. Well, actually, the funny thing is, I don't. That's actually an interesting question, because I think at the White House, there, like, it is a. I don't know that we actually paid. But that's but throughout government,
I've worked the investigation.
I've
okay,
walked
but Sean, if you were the head of the world, king of the world, and the CIA station chief in Athens said, I need to read the New York Times because I do, can I expense it? Would you sign off on that?
I'd try to get
Dude, of course you
Yes,
would.
of course. I mean, I look.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, hold on. I'm trying to work on a special surprise, so just head.
Yeah, okay. You work on that. We're in our affiliates. We're going to go over if Sean delivers. Dan.
Yeah, look, why do businesses have subscriptions to the Wall Street Journal and trade association magazines?
But they're not the taxpayer. But they're not the taxpayer.
But hold on. They do it for information about what is happening in their industry or what are world events that could impact their industry. Government is no different in that regard. What you haven't heard yet, and again, if I were the Democrats, I would be combing through how much money went to Dow Jones in the last year, the owner of the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, the New York Post. It is not just quote unquote liberal publications that the government has. And as all these alternative media sources create business models in which you pay for their Substack or you pay for access to their podcasts, which is where some people are starting to go, if Joe Rogan announced he was going to start charging $10 a month, would Republicans say it's in our interest to hear what Joe is saying and when my boss goes on? So I mean, it's both parties do that. Everyone does it. And look, if you want to say get rid of them, fine, get rid of all of them, which is where Trump is going. I would imagine they will start to creep back at a necessity.
David, thoughts?
I mean, Sean,
yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the subscriptions being paid for, but $50 million.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, that what they did is you can go into there's a database, a government database, and you can pull up any entity to say, you know, has Mark Halperin gotten money, and it'll come back. And so they went back through time across every agency. And the problem is that as I was saying the other day with like when Dan's been on the Hill, I've been on the Hill, they would go in after a while and look at like what they call an enterprise account, right? So they'd say, Mark pointed out the guest that was talking about like Acrobat or something, and someone would say, this is silly. 5 offices are buying something. Why don't we negotiate a deal for everybody that'll get the price way down? That's the bigger issue, is that the government should come in and say, we will give the New York Times one fee because, you know, I mean, look, it's Dan point up the point about the Netflix account. There's several times when you go in and you audit yourself and say, we're all paying for a subscription here. You think about your phone plan, right? How many times do you go, instead of every kid having their own plan, why don't we get a family plan from your provider and get the cost down? The government, that's the bigger issue here as far as I'm concerned.
The New York Times said, and I don't know that it's true or not, that they give a big discount to the government. So there's that. All right. Sean, hold on. David, thank you very much. Come back regularly.
I just one quick dunk before we're done. We can talk about the subscriptions and the cost and everything. I will tell you, just to give you the head of the White House Correspondents Association is a political personality who invited a left-wing Trump-hating entertainer to deliver the dinner speech, who doesn't, quote, want Trump to attend. That just continues to show you the mentality of Politico and the people that work there.
For this year,
big
Sean?
mistake. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And they
literally doing interviews saying, I don't want him to come.
And they asked Caroline Levitt about about the booking, and she was actually pretty restrained. But I think the chances he goes are very low. And it's not just like it's fun to go to the dinner and have the president there. The point of the dinner is to have a night of collegiality.
Yeah.
And very, very, very poor choice. Sean,
but it just shows the mentality that these guys don't. I mean, that you would invite and be proud of it. An entertainer who openly hates the guy and says, "I don't want him to come." That tells you what's going through the mind of political reporters.
Well, and presumably the White House Correspondents Association. I don't know if it was a unilateral decision, but Sean, is our surprise happening or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, the timing will not work. We'll have to find
wait till Monday, maybe.
All right. I may have to do this.
Sean,
do
you really want to try it? Do you want to embarrass yourself and try it? No.
Although I will, I think you could read it.
Yeah. All right, maybe we will. Let's do some other business first. 202, please. Some of you might recall that Michael Granoff, who you see on the left there, has appeared here. He's an American who's long lived in Tel Aviv. That's his son, Rafi, who serves in the Israel military. They're big fans of two-way, but they're also big fans of Richie Torres, who was on two-way tonight, last night, who you can see there on Rafi's phone. And Rafi used to work for Richie Torres. So big two-way moment for the family, and they're watching. I thought I'd share that. All right. Thank you.
Mark, I have an idea. What if we pick 5 people to sing the chorus? Read it, and then they sing the chorus.
All right. We'll do that to close the show. It'll be like the closing credits. Monday, I'm on tonight at 6 p.m. We're back Monday morning at 9 a.m. Monday night at 6 p.m. Fan favorites, the International Intrigue team, Helen, Jeremy, and John will be here to talk about whatever's going on in the great big wide world, including the reaction to Donald Trump. For those of you who don't know, those 3 fine folks produce a daily newsletter that I recommend to you called International Intrigue, that is at the low price of free. And they've been with us before, and they're awesome. So join us Monday for that. Dan put his Substack URL in the chat. Dan, if they Google Dan Turrentine Substack, will they come up with it?
Yes, they will. Yep.
What's it called? How often does it come out? What's it called?
Dan Turrentine Substack. I'm going to start doing Monday through Friday. I stopped. I did a little bit prior to coming on the show and then stopped to just focus on this, but I'm going to restart it, focused on Democrats.
If you need more Dan, and who doesn't? All right, put up the lyrics, please. And I'm gonna unmute. I'm gonna pretty much unmute people who I think can sing. Do you guys have the lyrics?
We're gonna put that in chat.
No. We need it up on the screen. You can't put it on the screen? You worried about copyright infringement, or you just don't have it ready?
We don't have it ready.
All right. How long will it take? Everybody's patient. This is a big moment.
Stand by.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Raise your hand. I know no one volunteered before. Raise your hand, your physical hand, not your electronic hand, if you're a decent singer. Decent singer. That's all we need is decent.
If someone else has said you're a decent
All right. Haley. Thank you, Haley. Brian. I know Brian can sing. Chuck Lustig.
Right,
I know
Haley.
You can sing. Chuck, you're a great singer. Chuck and I worked together, and I used to sing all the time. Aaron, are you a good singer? You look a little like that guy who sang that Richmond song. Aaron, I'm bringing you in, man. Don't shake your head at me.
By the way, that guy should have taken that deal.
Deborah.
This looks like a band.
Deborah, also a good singer. Yeah. Deborah, stop shaking your head. Just sing your guts out. All right, here we go. We're unmuting everybody. Sean will lead us. Sean, you were in the choir, right?
I believe I was kicked out of the choir.
All right.
But, yeah,
that's
all
hard
right. But you were technically you were in. Sean, here's the thing. You do a run through to give everybody a little sense. You're going to do the chorus? Do the chorus.
Okay, so the chorus is, ooh, they say it's fate, like it's written in the stars at the 50-yard gate. Ooh, but let's be real. There's no way I'm sitting here.
You got to sing it, John. You got to give him a sense of the tune.
No, we're going to lose. Like we've spent months building this audience. I can't do that.
Haley, are you a Swiftie, Haley?
My cousin is the biggest Swiftie on the planet.
Okay, just sing the chorus starting, we are never, ever, ever meeting at the Super Bowl.
Oh,
we are never, ever, ever meeting at the Super Bowl. You can post, you can guess, but the answer's still a no. I forget the tune.
Yeah, I don't know that ChatGPT totally nailed this. All right, rehearsal's canceled.
I like it, Haley.
Haley,
I
thank you.
apologize.
Deborah and Aaron
Pay
are
for
the
effort.
two most relieved people in the world. Brian, sadly disappointed because he was going to nail it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks to all the great questions we had today. Thanks to the
Brian had
Sean's-
a
Thanks
tonight,
to
by the way,
He's gonna string it.
Mark,
I like
tonight,
it.
Jessica, I'm doing a discussion with Jessica Reed Krause, the one behind House and Habit, on
Oh
all
my
these
God.
powerful women behind RFK and Tulsi.
I'm going head to head tonight at 6 p.m. with my friend Jessica Reed Krause. That's
2 to
disappointing.
1, baby. Yeah,
I have to
but
be
I mean-
honest. The producers of my evening show will hate me for this, but watch Sean at 6 because Jessica is awesome. Maybe I'll try to. You know what? You've recorded her already, right?
Technically.
I'm going to try to book her live.
By
Guys,
the way,
there's a
I will
choice.
tell you this.
You can
if
have
you,
a days old interview with Jessica or live with Jessica. I would choose live.
You know what? I wasn't going to bring this up, but she literally said that was the best interview ever. Direct quote.
You know what she said to me? She said, that was the best interview ever until the one I do live with you on Friday night. All right,
Yeah.
Lori, see if Jessica will come on.
I love you both, children.
It's stunt
I love you
casting.
both.
Okay.
I just
All right.
announced a special.
Yeah.
I'm buying her a ticket to get to. I'm
Tonight,
buying
6
her
o'clock.
spa appointment.
All right. How many screens you got, Aaron? Hold just some fingers up. How many screens you got? How many do you own? You more than one, right? You got like a tablet. Yeah. Deborah, same thing. Watch them both, right like this, and multitask your ears. Sean taped with Jessica, and hopefully me live with Jessica. That's the goal. I'll see you tonight at 6 o'clock. Don't know who will be on. And then Monday morning we'll be back. And then Monday night, the cast and crew of International Intrigue. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And as we say at the end of today's White House press conference, Ja Mata Sayonara.